All right. Good evening, everybody. Do us another Friday Night Live here. It's August 2nd. It's just now August. All of July felt like August. Good portion of June as well. Uh, if you're in the Tennessee area, you have been inundated with almost daily rainstorms for a few weeks now. A little bit unpredictable as to when they're going to show up. They were supposed to show up this morning at 10 o'clock, and they never did. And I rescheduled a job because I fully expected to be in the middle of a lightning storm about the time I got started on the job. But oh well, it happens. So we have had some of the craziest weather that I can remember, especially since being back on the family farm. Uh, we had a number of nice, cool nights. Like the humidity dropped. A lot of nice, steady rain. I didn't even mind the fact that I wasn't grabbing much power off the sun during that time because we needed the rain so bad. So the grass and the pastures that I was starting to get concerned about have rebounded wonderfully, and it looks like we're going to be grazing a little bit later than I thought initially. So I'm happy about that. I expect to have a little bit more grazing time before we have to start worrying about hay as we get into the fall and things start to go dormant in terms of the grasses. Around here, I mean, it's kind of varies to some extent, but the grasses will often go dormant um, well before the trees start to lose their leaves. So that's just something I've kind of noticed as I pay more attention to the cycles, to the patterns and everything of our particular little microclimate here. That's something that I've kind of picked up. Pip and Eyes has joined us. Good to see you, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you in October at Toolman Tim's land. We'll be having a good time out there. So that's my weather ramble. We had a bunch of rain, storms, cool weather. We're hot again. We're still getting these last minute storms. There's a chance one could pop up on me while we're on the live stream. So we'll just see what happens. Because if it starts raining like crazy in here, I don't know if you guys would be able to hear me really well. It's metal building, so it can get loud. I've had a quite the busy week, productive week, staying on target on a number of projects. Before I get too far down my list over here, we're doing a foraging class on August 17th here on the farm. If you're I'd say if you're within an hour's drive of Knoxville, it'd be worth your time to come out. We're going to do it. That's a Saturday. Let me double check that. Um, August 17th is, yes, a Saturday. We're going to do that from 11 a.m. to about 2 p.m. After we wrap up the actual foraging class, if folks want to hang out a little bit and do a bit more of a farm tour and more Q&A, I'm happy to do so. So if you hear this after the fact and you want to come on out for a in-person, we're walking the land, we're looking at plants, I'm telling you what's going on with them, their various uses, how you can find them in your own area, that sort of thing. Hit me up, strongrootsresources@gmail.com. It's $20 a person. uh, we are bountiful on just about everything right now, so if there's anything that you would like to gather some of your own, bring a paper bag and let's do it. We're gonna have a good time on that. Pippin says we got to double check the preps for this storm in the Gulf. Could give Central Florida some rain and wind. Yeah, you guys are heading into the bulk of hurricane season, as I understand. It seems like that's kind of a thing in August and September is when you guys really have to watch out for those strong storms. Um, it's kind of a funny story about. It reminds me, Pippin, my grandmother, my nan on dad's side, she and I were really close when I was growing up. Went over there every day after school. Always told her about what was going on at school. We went on vacations together. We were just super super tight, and she loved studying the weather. And this was about the time that she got early 90s, maybe mid 90s or so. the Weather Channel was a thing, and she loved Jim Cantori and watching, that whole coverage of the hurricanes and stuff. And it's kind of funny, like looking back on it. I remember her telling me this. She said, like, she didn't want bad things to happen to people, but she was really impressed by destruction. It's like she's like this super kind, very like classic lady, but also loves seeing stuff get messed up for some reason. So, but she loved to watch the hurricanes. And one Christmas, I forget who got it for her. It might have been my Aunt Rhonda, but somebody got her this laminated chart of basically the eastern seaboard of the United States, including the Gulf of Mexico. So basically, eastern U.S. and the two different ways that here on the East Coast the hurricanes come in, and you could just work on it with a dry erase marker, and you could basically, it was a tracker. So as they updated, as they were kind of predicting the coordinates for the path of a hurricane or a tropical storm, she would chart it. And she always said that if she had to do it over again, she might have gotten into meteorology. She was just fascinated by that. So, yeah, hurricane season always reminds me of her. And because we always vacationed, either somewhere on the Gulf Coast or somewhere on the, we felt a certain connection to places like Pensacola and Fort Walton, or Norfolk on the East Coast side, or maybe Clearwater or areas like that. It always, I remember seeing, like one of our favorite restaurants got the roof torn off and things like that. And one of our favorite hotels got wrecked at one point. So she didn't like revel in destruction, but I think she just had like a real admiration for the destructive power of nature, as it were. This was also the lady who said she didn't really enjoy watching NASCAR, but she sure did enjoy watching the wrecks. Take that as you will. She was a great lady. She was very unique. I miss her very much, and I think about her every day. One of these days, I don't know. I don't think I've got a photo that's like super, super handy to me at the moment. There in the cabin, but I'll share a photo of her sometime. I've got this great photo of her in her garden, her flower garden that she built back in the day, and I remember I took the photo for her because her garden was gorgeous. She was like, "Take my picture in my garden. It's the best garden ever." And I remember taking that picture and thinking that that picture was still going to mean something to me back when we got it developed. And when I got the picture back, I remember thinking that picture was going to mean something to me much later in my life after she was gone, and I was right. And I'll be darned if something just didn't bite me on the elbow right now. My goodness. So we're hot. It's swampy. 5,000% humidity right now. Feels like you get smacked in the face when you walk outside. And, it's what did I say? I told Angel earlier. I said, right now, everything is either itchy, sweaty, or biting or stinging me. I have been stung by something at least once a week for the past several weeks. It seems like every bug out here is pissed off. Every bug is like out for revenge. And I, for the life of me, cannot stay out of the poison ivy right now. It's all over here where I need to be in some places. It's all over a job that I'm working on. And the thing is I think, it's still irritating, but I'm actually getting accustomed to it. Like, I think I'm starting to build up a little bit of resistance to it. Now, I try not to get into it any, and I hope this feed isn't too choppy, you guys, because it looks like my signal is kind of crappy right now. When I do get into it, I do go get everything washed off as soon as possible. And, I'm trying to wear gloves and everything, but I'm not wearing long sleeves in this. I just can't. It's bad enough to have to wear pants sometimes. Pinky has stopped by. Good to see you, Pinky. Is that pig still behaving itself? And good to see you, Margot. Margot also down there in the land of watch out for hurricanes. Um, so yeah, hopefully you guys aren't going to have any issues, but I'm sure you've got your stuff figured out on that front because it's uh, it's just I guess it's just something you accept as part of living down there. It's one of the trade offs. So everything is biting right now. Um, 2 nights ago, as the sun was going down, I was in the mood to do some weeding in the gardens. And I've got driftwood all over the place around, like little sections, not anything real huge, um, all in my gardens because it shelters the lizards. And I just kind of like them as a feature. I've just got I kind of have this thing where I like to go collect driftwood on the shore in the wintertime. There's several places where I can do that, and and I've got them, like I said, I've just got them kind of strewn throughout especially my pollinator garden up here. And I was yanking out some Bermuda grass and felt something like whack me on the ankle. Uh, like wham, instant. And then right again, like wham, wham. So I went and did the instant 40-yard dash, not really caring what was after me. Turned around and looked, and he's still on my ankle. It was a yellow jacket. Swatted him off. Made sure I wasn't being pursued because they have been known to swarm, and went back and looked, and there was a nest. There was a ground nest underneath a piece of driftwood, crying out loud. And, guys, normally, like if I encounter a yellow jacket nest and it's not somewhere where I need to be or I know somebody else is going to be, I usually don't bug them. Like they got their thing to do, whatever. But this was right at the edge of my garden, and it's a spot where Trip likes to lay all the time. So I was like, sorry guys. So when the sun was a little further down and they were calm, they got dealt with. So they basically got drowned and then smashed and then filled in. It's got me wondering now if maybe I shouldn't have this quite so much of this driftwood around. But if it's not one, I mean, they'll just find another place. So, we'll see. But that hurt so bad. I went and put my plantain on it as soon as I found some plantain, and that does help. But it takes like the instant sting out. Like it kind of helps that. But that ankle like throbbed all night long. Even I put like 2 or 3 different salves on it. Broke into the straight up stuff out of the Western medicine regime, and I think I just had like so much toxin from him hitting me 3 or 4 times. It just I had like a kind of localized reaction. It's fine now, but man, that hurt. He also got me. It's almost like right on the Achilles. It was like right near the bone. Like he didn't have a lot of meat to cushion. So Margot says lavender essential oil. Good to know next time because I'm getting stung once a week. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I mean, I was moving a picnic table the other day, like 2 weeks ago, and there was a wasp under that, and he flipped and he got underneath my shirt and like stung me on the ribs like 3 times. And at some point, you see me streaking across one of the pastures with my shirt off, trying to get away from that guy. So, yeah, everything itches, is sweaty, and is angry from being bitten and stung. I do like summer. I like spring better. I like fall better. I like what summer can let me do, but gosh, it's a pain in the butt sometimes. It really is. I don't know if I've really talked about the gardens lately. They've perked back up since we've had the rain. I don't water mine a whole lot except right after I put the plants out, so I just kind of let stuff once established. Whatever happens, happens. Now it's not a subsistence. Oh, that's a word. Garden by any means. We also don't actually eat a ton of produce anymore. I grow it to munch on a little bit. I actually probably give more of it to the things that make meat around here. So the sheep get a lot of produce. The chickens get it. The rabbits get it. And, we'll put up some tomatoes. And, I've got a lot of winter squash. And I grew this lemon cucumber, which was different this year. And they're like little squat things. They get about the size of a tennis ball, and they kind of stay the same color the whole time. You know how your regular cucumbers, if they start getting too light or yellow, you know you've let them go too long and they're going to be, you know, bitter or whatever. So I couldn't really tell. I mean, I picked them. I thought they were fine. Um, Angel doesn't really care for cucumbers too much, but she chopped up a bunch, mixed it in a bowl with some dressing, some goat cheese, some tomatoes, and different things. Because I love cucumber salad, love it, and we'll make fridge pickles and stuff with them too. Well, I ate a few bites of it at dinner a couple of nights ago, and I was like, "Oh man, these had gotten bitter," and she hadn't taste tested one, so she didn't know. But I didn't want to waste my portion. And so I was just like, whatever, I'll just eat it. So I shoveled down, you know, a bowl full of, and they, not every bite was bitter, but some of them had gotten bitter. And, you know, I just, Lord knows, I don't want to know what that goat cheese cost, but I was like, man, I am not wasting this. Like, I hate to waste food. I will eat stuff that is a little suspect at times because I don't want to waste food. So I ate that. We had a pork chop with it, had something else. Had a really good dinner. And we were sitting on the couch about half an hour later. And I was like, oh, I don't feel good. And like just all of a sudden I was nauseated. Big time. Big time. And that's not usually a problem that I have at all. Very rare. And usually if I do, it's because oh, here comes the thunder. We'll see what happens here. You know, it's usually because I've eaten, like, I've made a poor choice in terms of like getting fast food or something like that. Not really a person prone to nausea. Well, about 30 seconds after the nausea started, I was like, oh, this is really going to kick my butt. So I took a Zofran, tried to knock it down. We were trying to hang out, you know, chill out in the evening. And about 2 minutes after I took that Zofran, I was like, nope, I'm going to lose this battle. So I went into the bathroom and hugged the trash can for a little bit, and I had about 3 rounds of that, all within a short amount of time, and then I was fine. I was perfectly fine. Just couldn't keep that cucumber on board. I ended up looking it up later. I was like, "What's up with you know, overripe or bitter cucumbers?" Well, there's actually like I forget what it was called, but there's a substance that it makes, which any smart creature would not eat something bitter, especially somebody who teaches people about foraging, and that bitterness is something to watch out for. If I would follow my own danged advice, you will puke it up. That's the thing about the body, though. You know, your body is smart. And, you know, in most cases, I mean, I can't speak broadly, of course, but in most cases, the body knows that it needs to reject something before it causes further issues. So, you know, not that puking is fun. It sucks. It's the worst. It's absolutely. I mean, it is quite the unappealing experience. When I was a little kid, I used to be terrified of barfing, terrified of anybody barfing around me. Like, it was hugely traumatic. And, guys, that's just, you know, that's this week's advice. I'm going to jump back into the comments here for just a second. Margot says, if she's on the mainland, I wouldn't mind hurricanes. But yeah, you guys are on a barrier island. So yeah, things can get kind of sketchy out there. And Pippin's right. Yeah, we get tornadoes and they can show up with very little notice. So that is true. That is true. And in terms of running from bugs, Hippocrates Garden, man, you know, I train jiu-jitsu about 3 days a week. Almost everything I do requires pushing a wheelbarrow around up here. And those bugs are just making sure I get a little more cardio. Yeah. Plus the venom, you know, the poison that happens when they bite you is it can actually cause your heart rate to go up anyhow. You know, you can kind of have a little bit of a reaction to it. So obviously, some people have a really severe reaction. I'm fortunate I don't seem to be one of those, but yeah. So don't eat bitter cucumbers, and watch out when you're flipping over logs because there might be a yellow jacket's nest underneath. I'm gonna take a peek at the radar real quick because I hear quite the rumble. Yeah, we'll see, guys. We might get whacked by one here in a little bit. So if I shut the show down in a hurry, I do apologize, and I'll catch you guys up next time. Um, Otherwise, yeah, the garden's going good. I am going to make my very best effort to get some fall plants started this weekend. I think I've got time to do it. I actually got my greenhouse organized, and I got a bunch of starter trays in them going. I'm just going to kind of plug away on that and get some, get some stuff that needs to be started by seed. There's, all the root crops. I'll just direct, so that won't be any big deal. But it would be nice to plug a fall garden into the October plan or so. So we're talking about stinging stories here. Hippocrates Garden says, as a kid, I used to get stung a lot, and one of the worst was a bee getting in my motorcycle helmet and stinging me on the ear. I had to pull over until I could get my balance again. Yeah, I mean that's sketches all get out. When I rode a bicycle quite a bit. I was one of those, one of those people with spandex, but I was one of those guys for a while. I actually did it mostly as commuting. I actually did it to save money in the days of working for $10 an hour. And I had one get up under my helmet before. I've been like whacked in the throat by, I think it was a bumblebee. Yeah, it makes you think twice about trying to, breathe with your mouth open while you're out there. Yeah, my dad, he's ridden his whole life and he's got stories about bees going down, motorcycle jackets and stuff like that. And, it's like you can't panic. I mean, that's just going to make everything worse. So, uh, uh, it's, uh, it's just always something out there. Always something out there wanting to pick a fight, I guess. Chris Watkins has joined us. Chris, good to see you. I'm doing well, mostly staying on top of things around here. So thank you for coming in. Before I get too far away from my cucumber story, they have a new name. Pucumbers. So, yeah, that's, I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat them again. It might be a little while. It's kind of a bummer. They're still coming in like crazy, so I've just been giving them to the rabbits and the sheep. Sheep really like them. Primrose loves them too. She thinks they're awesome. So I know they've got more digestive capabilities than I do. Yeah, Sean and Jess, Hippocrates Garden has asked. Sean and Jess, they do have their pond. I need to watch their latest video. I'm one video behind on them. Yeah, so when I saw them late winter, when I went up there late winter for the first time, that was one of the things that they said they wanted. And it looks to me like they chose the spot that we had scoped out. So yeah, I sent them copious notes on a variety of ways of getting a pond in place, getting it to hold water. So we actually spoke to Sean yesterday, and we're trying to, I think they're going to try to come out for the foraging class actually, but I'm going to do my best to get back over there before the end of summer and just kind of eyeball things and see what else I can help them with. So that's awesome to have. That'll put water fairly high in their landscape, which is hugely useful. And in terms of throw a little solar pump in it to help keep the water moving until you get pond plants in there for for the sake of aeration and that sort of thing. So we don't get all the algae bloom going on. And yeah, hopefully it's gonna hold. They sure did do it at the right time in terms of all this rain. We've had so much rain here. It's caused flash flooding in multiple locations. Dollywood flooded. There's a bunch of video on the internet about that. Paper Mill Road, which is about 7 miles east of me, flooded big time. I mean, everybody who was up, like if you're from the area, the McKay's book store, the aquarium store, all that up there, you weren't going anywhere because that whole area is landlocked. Paper Mill is the only way in or out unless you want to walk down the ridge and pop out on Kingston Pike, but there's no getting a vehicle over there. So it's one of those things that makes you think, I've always been kind of wary of that road because it has a high water marker on it. There's a little creek that doesn't always run. It's really just a conveyance ditch. But there is a high water marker right there, which tells you something. It's like, it looks like the kind that they have, on the underside of bridges. If you're paddling, you pass under a bridge, and it says, shows the high water mark. So yeah, it's been wild. Got to think about stuff like that. Got to think about stuff. And other like garden livestock news, chickens are doing good. Sheep are doing great. They are just below my mom and dad's right now. There's about a quarter-ish acre spot island, sort of, between two sections of driveway below their house. They'll probably be on that spot for about 3 days. And I'm going to turn them back around. I'm going to take them back below my brother's and find a way to get them between the two houses and put them in the hop yard pretty soon. We're harvesting hops tomorrow, at least part of them. There's two different kinds, so they kind of have slightly different growth rates. And so they will, they don't get to go back into the hops till the hops are harvested. I think I told the story about sheep not being a good combination at all. So yeah, I'm always kind of trying to think, a couple of moves ahead of how I want to move the sheep, since there's areas where I have to, build their chutes. I have to build little access chutes because I don't quite trust them to stay together and follow me when I'm unable to abut one paddock to another paddock. So I'll try to get a video soon of another move, especially one that's a little bit on the longer side. I'm sure Angel could help me out with that because it's kind of fun to see. And frankly, it kind of makes you feel good when you got animals following you and everybody's kind of behaving themselves, and they understand what's going on. They understand that they're going to a new spot and all is good. So we'll get that set up soon. And the grass growth is just, I'm just so happy for the rain, even though it's kind of been a pain in the butt for some people, because it has really bought us a second round of more grazing, more good grazing than I anticipated. And I don't know if there's going to be, some people are saying that there is not going to be a second cut of hay. I have seen, just kind of being around, where most people have made their first cut and has baled. But, I don't know. It might depend. Depends on how people are managing their hay. But it got so tall, like I almost couldn't mow it. Like just my yard. Like it was almost too tall because I did not have enough time between it being too wet to mow, and it just kept getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And all I can say is, thank goodness I'm not still doing the yard mowing as part of the business, because the catching up part would be awful. Starting to sound a little bit rowdy out there. This wind is kicking off. What's this cell look like? We've got a cell north of Oak Ridge, and it might drop down on us. We'll see. We'll see. Ain't nothing I can do about it. Tim says, yeah, I didn't know paper mill's underwater. So, okay, so that surgery center, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Hate to say it, but ran a few calls out of there back in the day. But it was, we're not talking about just water running across the road. We're talking your car would be underwater if you tried to pull onto paper mill from that surgery center right there. So it's just, you can't pave everything everywhere and shunt all that water into a conveyance ditch and call it good. Eventually it's just, and I got to think that couldn't have been good for the, the underlayment of the road and all that kind of stuff too. So you're in the area and you cruise down paper mill, keep your eyeballs out. Take a, I don't know, maybe be discerning. I like them too. I have to go when it's not busy though. I do, although man, they cost a lot. I know inflation and shit, but they're not really a bargain place for books anymore. And I don't know if it, what changed exactly. I still find good stuff there, and when it's not busy, it is still really pleasant to browse. And I really like to browse the records as well. That's, I still use a record player. I've always had a record player. I like vinyl. I don't care if that makes me a hipster or whatever. I like vinyl, and I really like movie soundtracks. That's mostly what I have. So I have soundtracks from Close Encounters of the Third Kind and most of the Superman movies and Star Wars and anything. Like, I like scores. I like musical scores. I like to play them when I'm putting around in the shop because I can listen to that and think and do stuff at the same time. So yeah, it's a cool place if there's not 10,000 people in there. Um, the sheep are in good order. Otherwise, we are holding at the 22. Um, Spoke with Marcy earlier this week, and we actually have 3 young rams that will need to be harvested, and we were loosely planning that for sometime in October. We got to get together because I'm gonna be away a couple of weekends that month, so we're gonna get together, and that's going to require some more infrastructure on me. We're going to need to create a hard corral for getting a hold of them. Um, they these guys can't really be caught, and you can't chase sheep around in an electric fence paddock and not expect stuff to go sideways by doing that. So I'm going to look at a few different designs. If anybody has seen like a really nice and relatively, like, DIY is better. Like, I'm gonna need to buy some cattle panels. Um, I like a squeeze chute design or something like that because we don't have a barn that I can put animals in. Um, and the only shed we have will have hay in it. So I will need to configure some kind of like squeeze chute into a hard corral area that we can back the trailer to, and then separate out who is staying, who is going, and get the ones that are going into the trailer. So um, that's the plan. But I've got till at least the middle of October to get that squared away. And so if that's something that you guys have done before, or if you saw like a really smart design somewhere, feel free to send it my way. I would appreciate that. I figure at the bare minimum, I've still got plenty of T-posts up here, and cattle panels aren't too expensive. And I could make one from, like wherever the sheep are when it's time to pick them up. I can just go in there, pound in some T-posts, secure the panels to them, and go from there. So it wouldn't necessarily be something that I'd have to spend like an entire week assembling. And also nice if it's something that I could take back down again, because portable would be really helpful for me since everybody is constantly moving around the land. I'm planning to go ahead and mate the rabbits probably Sunday. So I've basically just been letting the rabbits do rabbit things, with the exception of making more rabbits. But I think I've got my routine, the feeding schedule, the management of everybody pretty well squared away to where I think I'm gonna, because I want to get them on a schedule. So I'm gonna mate one, and I'm gonna put her in the best part of the hutch that has a nesting box in it, and then let her do her thing. Then I can move those babies to, I can move her and the babies when they're bigger to a different section, mate the next rabbit, bring her in, and kind of follow a little route there. And then that way I don't have, then maybe I'm processing, let's see, say 5 or 6 make it to, processing stage. I'm only having to do a few at a time. I don't 20 rabbits at a time or something like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. But it just, at this point, I'm feeding rabbits, but I'm not really getting anything back out of it. So I just need to go ahead and put the males and female, or a male and a female together, let them do what they do best, and go in from there. Tim is a fan of breeding them on the full moon. Okay, here's what I need to know. If I do that, am I getting were rabbits? Because I could probably sell those for more than just regular meat rabbits if they like howl at the moon and do stuff like that. I don't really know a lot about the particulars of mating them and timing and that sort of thing. I have been told that I need to put how is this? Is it the male in with, you put the female in with the male, because the female might be territorial and she might try to just get away from him the whole time. But if you put her in with him, it kind of resets her little rabbit brain, and then they mate, and all is good, and then they separate again. But yeah, is that like a? I mean, is that like a folklore thing? Or is it just easy for, like, because they were bred on the full moon, they're get they'll kindle on the next, and so it's just kind of easy to keep track of that way. Because I mean, I don't care. I'll do anything. I mean, I do all kinds of weird stuff up here. Why not get weirder? um, Pippin is asking about the pelts. Pelts are worth more. Oh, it's not like a movie or a cartoon or something about were rabbits. I feel like I'm thinking of maybe like uh it almost feels like it was maybe like a Tim Burton thing or something like that. Okay, bring the doe to the buck. Very good. Very good. That's what I'll do. Um and The were rabbit. Yeah. There's a pop culture reference in there somewhere that I can't quite pull out at the moment. If you guys happen to find it, let me know. So yeah, so I think I'm just gonna do the one at a time, and then maybe overlap just a little bit, but obviously I need to get my cycle. I haven't felt like I've had the brain power to devote to it, even though it's not very complicated. But I've kind of checked off a couple of other big things on my brain lately, so we can go ahead and make some more rabbits instead of just feeding rabbits and getting rabbit poop. I mean, that's not a bad trade-off. I've been doing a lot of good stuff with rabbit poop, but at some point I need to make more rabbits. Chickens are being chickens. Nothing to update there, except I brought them a giant pile of weeds a couple of days ago from just a garden bed weeding job I did for a customer, and they've been pretty happy with that. I mean, by giant, I mean like 4 wheelbarrows worth. So I just piled that in there and been letting them go to town. Pippin also, about the pelts, even if they're not were rabbit pelts, Angel's been looking up what's involved in curing them, so or tanning them, and if that's something that she wants to take on, that would be fine by me. I know a lot of people who do rabbits and they just don't do much with the pelts because it just seems like maybe there's not a market, there's not a lot of use. I don't know. I mean, I would personally like to try to make as much use of the animal as possible, because I can certainly just let them be dog food and let them kind of hold freezer space for us too, and we could do some stew rabbit and that sort of thing. But I mean, some of these rabbits are really, I mean, they have really nice pelts. We've got these that are kind of calico looking and different things. So we'll just I'll catch up with her and see what she's kind of found out. I saw that she had printed off some stuff, and usually when she prints something off, that means she means business. Couple of foraging notes here. Couple cool plants that are out and pretty much everywhere, at least here in the eastern United States. Look for your passion flower. So it will bloom like all throughout summer. And oftentimes I will see a vine that will have multiple fruits on it, and it will also still be blooming. So watch for your passion flower blooms. You can eat the flowers, make sure there's not a bee on them. You can, the fruit is probably not ripe unless you're way far south of me. Right now, the fruit is still firm, so they kind of look like a little kiwi without any fuzzy on them, just kind of a little green, a little bit bigger than a golf ball, a little bit oblong. And you want to wait till that's actually a little bit soft. If you pick it when it's still firm, it's not ripe. It's just pithy. There's nothing to eat. Once they're kind of soft and wrinkly, that's when they're ripe. You can juice them. You can actually eat the seeds and the kind of, I'm going to say the word gelatinous. It's not really the best word, but it's kind of a, there's a covering on the seeds, but the seeds aren't very hard. So, assuming you don't have trouble with crunchy things, you can eat those, but you can also just, you can run them through a strainer. You have to kind of collect a lot to make it worth it. I usually just kind of peel them open and munch on them. But you can also dry the flowers. You can also, tincture the flowers. You can make teas with the flowers. And the flowers can have quite the sedative effect. So pay attention to how you feel when you do a little bit of passion flower. It's a common component of like teas and different little supplements that help you sleep and help you rest. So make sure, if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, take that into consideration. Another plant that we've got prolifically out here right now. I saw a bunch in the pasture that I set up today for the sheep. It's a little purple flowered plant called Self Heal, also called Heal All. So plug that into your search engine. Also, I'll put it in the notes here. It's Prunella vulgaris of all things. That's what you're looking for. And that has a long list of potential uses, an incredibly long list. Personally, I will collect the flower, and I make kind of an extraction in apple cider vinegar, since I don't keep any alcohol here, and it's pretty strong, and I just kind of use it like a tonic. It's just sort of one of those things. If I'm feeling kind of weird, like maybe I'm coming down with something, or if I've been around a lot of people, and I feel like maybe I was exposed to something, or if I'm just kind of in a physical funk, I'll just take some of that. It's basically I guess it's basically a tincture of sorts with apple cider vinegar. You just basically you take your flower heads, you mash them down in there, cover them, and then you want to strain your flower heads back out after, oh gosh, I don't know, a little while, a few days probably. Pull that up in an herbal book to be sure, but that's kind of how I use it. And then, one more thing to share. Actually, two more things. I did an interview with Scott from the Thriving the Future podcast earlier this week. It's not out yet. I think he said he was a couple of weeks out from publishing that one. So watch for that. Subscribe to his stuff if you haven't already. He does really good work. If you like Nicole's work, if you like, TSP and stuff like that, Billy Bond, those kind of people that are about like very solutions oriented, Scott's is a really good one too. I like it a lot. We mainly talked about looking for property, different kind of outside of the box ways of looking for homestead property, and how to, kind of the very early steps of evaluating property for homesteading purposes, things to look for, and things to consider before you jump on an offer. Chris is asking if I use oil of oregano. I do. We always keep some on hand. I've used it if I kind of, if I get the feeling like I'm again like getting maybe some kind of infection, or let's see, you have to use a carrier oil with that, because oil of oregano by itself is really strong and burns. But yeah, it's got a ton of like antiviral, antibacterial properties. So that's definitely one we keep on hand in our kits. And One Step Closer has joined us. Howdy, Jeremy. Thank you for coming by. You coming out to Tim's? Y'all raise your hand if you're coming out to Tim's in October. I think we're going to have ourselves a nice little fall reunion of sorts. Loosely at the moment, I think we're going to be doing some planting. So Brian Alexovich, Lots Project Brian, has been busting his rear end clearing what's essentially going to be a nursery and plant propagation area. Now, and I measured it at about 120-ish by 150 feet. About 25% of it is edged by a little wet weather creek, which is very small but has continued to run even through the hot weather. We've got a variety of little microclimates we're going to make use of in there, and we're going to actually just plant that like a food forest. I think the only thing I'm going to do a little bit differently is we're going to try to space stuff a little bit wider so that we have room in there to take cuttings, split roots, and do things like that, so we can propagate further. So it's not going to be like when we say nursery, it's not going to be like rows and like this completely. It's it's going to look like it fits there. It looks like it's going to look like it's supposed to be there, more or less, obviously. In the midst of mid succession regrowth forest that is that property out there. So it is my plan to have stuff that will be planting out there. I know there's a ton of stuff on the agenda, but that's kind of the portion that I'm working on is layout and some planting. Fall's going to be a really good time to get some trees and some bushes out there. I'm sure I'll be hauling some stuff from my stock, and then various stuff that I'll source, stuff that Brian may source. We'll kind of sort that out. That's an ongoing project, and so yeah, you guys could be part of the first food forest on Toolman Tim's land. And then there's going to be multiple other guilds that will be just off of the various trails that are throughout. So Pippin looks like he's going to be down there. Yeah, I know I'm going to be there. I'm trying to make it happen for Thursday and Friday. Of course, I'm going to SRF too. So it's just a matter of getting all of my poops and all of my groups and everything here at home squared away and as under control as possible for Angel. And you guys, this is something that always kind of, I'm really just such a homebody. It's not that I don't want to, I enjoy myself when I am away from, like, when I go out and do projects like this. Like I do enjoy the time. I love catching up with you guys, but I always worry a little bit about stuff at home. So I'm thinking that there's a couple people I may reach out to see if they just wanted to if not necessarily stay out here with Angel, because I wouldn't subject, although October might not be too hot, but I would feel better if I could get maybe one of my friends here locally to stay with her as well. She is doing better. She really is moving better. She's moving so much better than she was in the spring. But I just don't want to throw too much on her. So just a thought, just a real time thought while I'm chatting with you guys. Tim's planning on Thursday because he's got to be at SOE on Friday. Tim, you taking one of the classes out there? I haven't even really looked to see yet. I know they're doing a ton of classes before and after. So while we're at Tim's, we will be planting. We will be doing a foraging walk. It'll be, my portion is going to be, I like to be kind of freeform. Like, I like to fit stuff in. Some things have a more rigid timeline. I can be pretty flexible. I can walk around the woods with you guys anytime. Doesn't matter to me. I like to do it later in the day, frankly. So yeah, we'll be doing that. I'm going to do kind of like the pop-up foraging classes as well at Self-Reliance. So I will put those on the board there, like the communication board that's halfway down that main row. We'll just have a good time like we always do. I am looking forward to it. I'm certainly looking forward to hopefully cooler weather by then. And, make a few new friends, see old ones, and just kind of support everybody in their efforts. I've made it through my list, guys. And this storm cell is getting closer and closer. So I think I'm going to probably be wrapping it up here in a minute. Let me make sure I did not miss anybody's questions or anything. Yeah, Tim, thank you for the input about the rabbits. I'll keep you guys up to date on that. If I filmed it, do you think YouTube would take it down? Is that uncool? When they do the thing. I've always wondered, because I've always heard about stuff that like the buck falls over and has a seizure basically after he's completed his duties. I wonder if that's really the truth. I guess we'll find out. So yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. strongrootsresources@gmail.com if I can help you with anything. Thank you for spending a little time with me tonight. I hope you guys have an excellent weekend, and we will catch you on the next one.